Hello there, and welcome to Gina Gardiner and Friends. Today's show is all around music, the power of music. And my guest, Alicia Smith, is a very practiced songwriter. She's a music producer and she has so much to offer. So Alicia, a huge welcome. Thank you very much for joining me on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Gina.
So let's start off by, how did you get into music and why is music so important to you?
Yes, that is a very involved story, but I will try to curtail it. So when I was little, my grandma, she lived in a nursing home. And in the nursing home, we would usually go visit her for lunch. And there was an old upright piano there. And me and my three brothers at that time were taking piano lessons. And so my mom would take us there to play for her. And it was nerve-wracking, but I got to practice like playing in front of other people. And it was mostly just playing for her. But what I realized was the other residents in the halls were also benefiting from like the sound of the music, and they were clapping along because the songs that we would play would be like spirituals and old church songs, things like that. So it was, for that generation, it was pretty common for them to know. And so we did that, I would say about once or twice a month.
Yeah.
And that experience, like seeing people's response to music like that, was really one of the moments that I realized, I was like, oh, wow, like music is really powerful and it's a way for people to connect. And I loved that. And so that experience was what ultimately led me to major in music in college and study piano. And I studied with Dr. Ilka Araujo at Texas Wesleyan University. And oh gosh, I just fell in love again with music and piano. And I also took choir, so I loved singing there too. And that's kind of how I got started.
Now, there's a world of difference from my perspective between playing the piano and actually becoming a songwriter, because it's not just about the notes, but also about the words. When did you transition into songwriting?
So that happened after I graduated from Wesleyan. So after I graduated, I was interested in music therapy at the time, because music therapy is basically, it's using music as a tool in a therapeutic session or setting. And so that kind of got me started. I was like, okay, that's really interesting. Like I can use music. I found it similar to the way I was playing for my grandmother, and it was around other people, because people would come up and be like, it would start memories for them. And so that's a little bit about music therapy, but that's just the very tip of the iceberg. It goes so much deeper. So I started a program at Texas Women's University. And that's when I found songwriting. And it was one of the classes, I believe it was music therapy skills. We had a module where we studied songwriting, and okay, what's the structure of a song? You have the chorus, you have the pre-chorus, the verses and stuff like that. And I was terrified because when I was younger, I had recorded, little voice memos of myself singing made up songs, but they were so silly and I didn't consider it actual songwriting at the time, and had never gone back to it since. So that assignment. We were supposed to be paired with a classmate, and we were supposed to hear their story, what they wanted to write about. Because that was one of the aspects of music therapy at the time, was actual songwriting for clients and getting them to tell their story and express it through music. And then ultimately they get to play it as well. And so my classmate at the time, she told her story, and we were given like these draft chord sheets, like chord structures that we could use, like templates. And she picked out her chord progression that she wanted, and she told her story. And I can't quite describe it, but it just came so easily. I was like, oh, okay, like she said this one sentence, and I would just kind of put it in a musical way. And then after I wrote that song, of course, turned it in for a grade, that type of thing, I found that the more I kind of listened to that song and played along with that song, I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. Like, I guess I can write about anything. And that was when I pretty much started my writing streak, because I believe that was in the spring of 2020.
Right.
And then that year I went on a trip with my sister, and we went to Montana, and we watched this show about songwriters. I forget the name right now, but we watched this show about songwriters where they pitch their songs to artists. And I remember looking at the show and telling her, I was like, oh, that would be so cool to do one day. And she asked me, she said, have you written any songs? And I told her, oh, I'd written a couple, because after that experience, I just kind of played around a little bit, because I was also like playing guitar at the time and learning guitar. And I'd written like a chorus to the song, which was actually the chorus to Sing Instead, which is one of my songs. It's the title track on my first EP. And after that trip, I just got this inspiration. I was like, I think I want to finish that song. And it was like a week or two afterwards, I finished it, I recorded it, I listened to it over and over and over again, because I was like, I need to like edit. That was just like my process at the time. But yeah, that was just kind of the starting off point for me, was that class, kind of bringing it full circle now.
It's interesting. Let's go back to when you were playing for your grandmother. I mean, there's growing evidence now that people who have dementia and Alzheimer's, that if you want to help them get back into a sense of being in control of their faculties, that using music, and they did an experiment where they took people in an old folks home, and they started to play music of their youth, and without exception, all of them were more articulate, that they sang along, and that the improvement continued for some time after they had been engaged with the songs that they had recognized. And even in my own family, I have a nephew who is profoundly disabled, and he, at the moment, it's like having a 45-year-old toddler. He has a few single words, but when he was little, one of his favorite songs was the song Daisy, Daisy, give me your answer, do. And if you just sing the first word, and he will start to join in. And he knows all the words, and he will sing the whole of the chorus without exception. And I, as you were talking, I'm struck with those people in your grand's place of residence who had engaged with your performance, and what a gift that you had given them, so that they were remembering. And even if they were not impaired by Alzheimer's or dementia, that it gave them a sense of being in that moment, and engaging with happy memories. So very, very, very powerful. But you've done something very special for Collaboration Global, haven't you? Would you like to explain what you've done?
Yes, sure. First of all, I love Jill, and I'm so grateful for that organization, as it's introduced us to each other. And so I'm happy to meet you as well. Yes, so Jill, I work for Leo Saunders, who runs Toon River, and I'm one of the artists there. And Jill reached out to Leo and needed a song for Collaboration Global to kind of unite and bring together that anthem song, that anthem type of thing. So Leo reached out to me and asked if I could write a song, an original song for her. And I was super excited, because I love the opportunity to write original music. And so I was really excited. I was like, yes, sure, I would love to. And I watched a couple videos of Jill speaking. And first of all, her story is just very powerful, and what the program is, bringing people together and collaborating, like that idea of working together with somebody else and just sharing ideas is very powerful already. So I loved, it was very, how do I say, it was something that spoke to me personally. So when I wrote the song, it, from her story, it flowed very naturally for me. And she wanted something uplifting and in a certain style. And so, of course, I tailored the song a little bit to that. And basically, that's how the process works, but that's very surface level again. Yeah.
So you work for Leo, and your job now is to write songs for people for different events and different organizations, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
So
And
why would people, what sort of songs are people asking for? Because for many people who are listening to this, they probably have no idea that you could actually commission someone to write a song, especially for an event or for your organization.
yes, so Toon River is actually an amazing company. So the way it works is people can go online and go on the website, look for a certain kind of song. Either you can get an original song or you can customize a song. So you can take it for a certain theme, like say it's somebody's birthday, it's an anniversary, and you want to gift them a song. So there are a lot of different templates, song templates from, I believe it's at this point, it's 35 plus artists right now that work for Toon River. And we have template songs that you can customize. So they're already pre-made, but we customize them. And then you fill out this questionnaire and it asks you like, okay, like what's a special memory? And then that way, as us as artists can incorporate that into the song. So,
but you can have it actually tailor-made for you too, can't you? You can have something that is completely and utterly original for you.
yes, so that is what we actually used for Jill as well. And this is a new thing, I think, that Leo has started as of this year. And it's something that I love to be able to work from scratch. Like that's kind of my home. And although customizing songs is wonderful, and I do love that, I think it's powerful to be able to have a song for somebody that is completely their song, they've helped create it. And I think that's really special as well.
So if you're looking for something that's unique, and that you have the people that you're trying to buy for that have got everything and need nothing, then maybe it's time to think about having an original song created for them, or a customized song if that fits your brief. I'd like to return after the break to talk about how music has such a power. It's so evocative, and how it can really shift the way in which people feel, and how, particularly when things are difficult, music has the opportunity and the power to change our mood and to make us feel much better. So don't go away. We're going to explore that when you come back after the break. Welcome back. Music is one of those things that has the power to shift your mood. How have you found music has made a difference in your life over time? What are the ways in which you use music personally?
I love this question. So thank you. For me, music had this power for me. And I didn't really discover what was happening at the time, but looking back now at certain situations and where I use music, where I was sad or I was happy, it has that ability to like make you feel good. I don't know how to really describe it, but there was this one memory I have. Well, it's several memories, but me and my sister were very close. And I remember so vividly, we're close, but we're not close in age. So we're actually 11 years apart.
Right.
So yes. So when she first went off to college, that was very hard for me. And because she was my best friend. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to see her. She's going to be 3-4 hours away. Of course, that felt far, from me, little 8-year-old Alicia. But so she went off, and I remember the first day we came back for dinner, and we were all sitting around the table, and I was just unbelievably sad. I couldn't really eat, and my mom was trying to encourage me to eat, and I was just like, I'm not really hungry. And I remember just kind of going to the bathroom and taking a moment for myself. And I sat on the edge of the tub, and I began to sing this song. And the history of this song, it was a Whitney Houston song, Your Love Is My Love. And I used to listen to that whole album with my sister, like going to bed. Like I played that album. The CD is probably very scratched at this point because I played it so much, but I would play it when I was with her, and we would sing, and we knew all the words. And in that moment, when I was sitting there, I sang that song, and it did cause me, I remember crying, but after that moment, it was almost cathartic. I needed to cry. I needed to remember her in that way. And the words to this song also struck me as well, because the title, Your Love Is My Love, it felt like such a connection with her. And it's been several different experiences like that where I can listen to music when I'm sad, and it can get me through that sorrow. And it's almost like a necessary sadness, because I think all emotions are very important. And whenever you experience them, feel them, it's important to go through the process of however long you need to feel that certain emotion to get you through that moment.
I use music with my clients quite a lot. And I think people often underestimate the power of music. So I'm going to share with our listeners a few different ways in which I've used it, and be interested in your comments. So when people suffer from low mood, depression, music can be a great mood lifter. And so one of the things that I ask clients to do is to create themselves a playlist of music that they choose, that has nice associations or no associations, but that actually is uplifting, that the beat and the style suits them. Interestingly, people choose very, very different things. So some might choose classics, others might choose heavy rock, because music is so personal, isn't it? But then when they're feeling low, to actually put the music on, and ideally to do a bit of exercise, to stand up, to breathe deeply, because when you combine the impact of the music with the impact of shifting your physiology, then you get an almost instant improvement in your mood. But I've also used it with workaholics who find it difficult to switch off from work. And I've asked them to create a playlist in 3 parts. So the playlist is, I'm leaving home in the morning. I want something that is going to just be quite relaxing to start with. And then the middle piece of music is my section where I'm going to transition from being at home to being in work mode. You know how Submarine has that bit at the top where you go into that you close behind you, and then you open it up into the sea, and then you do the same in reverse, so that the submarine doesn't get full of water and sinks. So then the third part of that music on the way to work is has a piece of music that gets you really going in terms of work mode. And then it may be the same 3 pieces of music, or it could be 3 completely different pieces of music that actually work as your transition for the way home. So to start with, it's in the mood of work, and then there is a transition which is quite tranquil, where you actually shift from one mood to the next, and then your home music, something that's really associated with being at home. And clients have found that very helpful in terms of their shift from work mode into home mode and vice versa.
I love that.
And the other thing, you know, if you're revising, if you're out there and you're revising, it's that time of year, certainly in the UK, when people are on holiday, so they perhaps don't need it. But if you want a revision to go well, then they say play Mozart, because Mozart's cadence of notes and the beat helps the brain to get into its optimum place for learning. And if you're pregnant, they say if you play your baby Mozart while it's in the womb, that it actually has an impact. So music is something that we've had as part of our lives since man first became aware that they could make sound with their voice and make sound with different things. What for you would you say, if you had budding musicians or budding songwriters, what piece of advice would you give them, Alicia?
Ooh, I'm gonna think about this one. I would say don't be afraid of the silences, because music, we have the sounds, and right, everybody's drawn to that. But sometimes if what I found listening to music and then hearing music too is that the silence part of music, the quiet parts, are so powerful. And I think you can convey a lot through that as well. And yeah, I'm just thinking of certain songs. One of my favorite artists, his name is Ben Rector. I love the way he uses silence in music, and certain songs, it makes the song that much more powerful. Okay. To have that.
You know, if you're out there and you are drawn to music, playing music, writing songs, you know, I would say to you, engage in that level of creativity. It has such an incredible impact on our sense of self. It fills your batteries. So for those of you that are not sure about life, you're not sure where you're going, and there's a lot of uncertainty in the world, engaging in music can be a huge solace. If you're feeling sad, it can be uplifting, it can calm you down. But engaging the creativity unleashes something within you, and whether that's songwriting or music, or it's cooking, or it's painting, doesn't matter what the creativity is, the creative act has such power. It's been a real joy to talk to you, Alicia. Where can people get hold of you?
So it's been great talking with you as well, Gina. People can find me on Instagram at This Is Alicia. I'm also on Spotify, Alicia Smith, Apple Music as well, and on Toon River as an artist. So if you're looking for customized artists or songs, you can reach out.
And in terms of listening to you and your music, where will people find that?
I'm on Spotify, Apple Music. I'm trying to think of the other ones, but those are the main ones right now.
Listeners, thank you for joining me. Please do email me at Gina, Gina, at genuinely-you. Tell us what you think and what themes you'd like us to cover on the show. And if you want to find lots of resources, you'll find those at genuinely-you and GinaGardnerAssociates.com. Thank you again. Thanks, Alicia, and we'll see you on the next show. Bye-bye now.